Well, hello everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us. We're going to go ahead and start our webinar today. And I'm going to start off with, I think the fact is that the business world has changed drastically in the last couple of years. I don't think anybody can deny that. Gartner calls it the nexus of forces. And what they mean by that is the business conversations are being driven by a convergence of mobile, social, cloud, and information. And I think those are all four buzzwords that we're all probably pretty familiar with these days and how drastically they've affected business environments. But together, Gartner is really saying these are the forces that are really truly disrupting our old business models. If you think about that for a second, there are over 250 million users, registered active users on LinkedIn, including an additional 2.6 million company pages. Twitter has over 500 million registered users tweeting roughly 60 million messages a day. And a significant numbers of those tweets are actually links back to additional information, right, about blog links and news stories and articles and things along those lines. Facebook has nearly 700 million active users. Think about that. That's twice the number of people that we have in the United States. And obviously these numbers are continuing to grow. So these are truly not fad numbers. These are numbers that are truly changing the world around us. And so Infinity, recognizing these paradigm changes, has partnered with Inside View. And we feel that they've got one of the best solutions out there to help address these new challenges. We found that it really helps you take advantage of this new way of interacting and selling with people and with organizations. So with me today is John Owen. He's both an Inside View expert and he is the Channel Development Manager at Inside View. And he's going to go ahead and take over the first half of this presentation. And then I'm going to follow up with just a short demo of how you all too can take advantage of social intelligence. So with that, John, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mike. And again, welcome to everybody who's taken some time out of your day to join us. As Mike mentioned, I am with Inside View, and I'm going to be walking through a bit more about Inside View, but we're really here and focused on supporting the changes that are happening within the sales environment, the marketing environment today that many of our customers and the organizations today are dealing with. And what I want to start off with before we get into that, though, is just letting you know if you'd like to ask questions, all of your phones are on mute to eliminate any background noise. So if you would like to ask questions during the session, feel free to do so by going ahead and typing your question in the area specified here. We'll make sure at the end of the session we'll take some time to go through any of those questions with you and be sure to get those answered. So let's take a step back for a minute before we dive into Inside View. Let's really talk about what's happening in the marketplace and a little of the statistics that kind of back this up. Ultimately today, the marketing and the sales organization are facing challenges like really have never been faced before. And the biggest reason for those challenges is simply put, the business-to-business environment and the way in which business is done today has fundamentally shifted because of the proliferation of information and data that is out there. As Mike alluded to earlier, some of those statistics. But I want to give you a few more to kind of really drive home what we're seeing in the environment we're working with and the customers that we're working with and what they're seeing, as well as information coming out from studies that are being done by a number of the classical institutions. So in this case, we have about 57% of the decision-making process being done before the first call. What does that ultimately mean? In the past, there used to be an example of where a salesperson would reach out via phone or email. They would engage with someone at an office that they were targeting, and they would start down a conversation that usually started with discussing what the key business challenges were at that organization, what was keeping them up at night. But there's simple realities now as people are very much smarter and they're educating themselves by leveraging their social networks. They're leveraging all the data on the internet, and they're going out and finding information about similar problems and challenges others are having and how potentially to solve those. So many times today you're dealing with a much more educated buyer because they've done their homework in advance, and by the time they're reaching out to your organization, they have a pretty good idea of the challenge they're faced with and maybe some solutions, but they're looking for some unique insights that your organization can help them to be able to resolve the challenges they're facing. When it comes to marketing teams, and where this kind of rolls back between sales and marketing and the combined effect, is the marketing teams today are doing a lot of campaigns and efforts and events to try to drive out leads and opportunities. But ultimately, because of the fact that many organizations, one, they're overwhelmed with the sheer volume, but number two, they are wanting a very unique approach to how they get engaged, marketers are challenged to actually generate some very high-quality leads through traditional marketing efforts. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. Ultimately, what does this mean? Because of all this information and the fact that your customers are now demanding that you have insights that you're bringing to them, you're not sitting at the table asking what's keeping them up at night, is that means more and more reps are spending more and more time trying to do that investigation and research on their own rather than spending time with their customers. And you're going to hear this from your teams when it comes to administrative activities and in terms of time they're spending trying to understand what's happening with their customers. And ultimately, the effect for them is that if they're not able to spend the time with customers, they're challenged to meet the growing quotas that they're receiving. We take a pretty bold step to say that cold calling is dead or definitely on life support, as well as unsolicited emails. Today, any sort of email campaigns that are unsolicited, almost all of us will block those simply because we're very busy and we don't want to just hear from someone trying to to talk to us about their products or solutions. I know myself, if the phone rings after 7 o'clock at night, I'm not going to pick it up because I know it's usually a solicitor, and I'm not interested in hearing about someone else. I'm very much focused on relevant conversations and topics for myself. So we really see in the statistics pretty prove out that that's the case. In fact, the statistic from the University of North Carolina talked about this and said that about 6% of the time you're actually going to get some form of response or engagement from a cold call or unsolicited email. And ultimately what this additionally means is because the sales and marketing teams are needing the information, the insights, the data to be able to address this change in the marketplace, many of them are using technology outside of CRM to do so. And so adoption continues to be a challenge because those teams that are targeted with CRM are not finding the data and the value they need within the tool. What we typically hear from our customers is, on the marketing side, is they're really focused on how can an organization, how can we help them to be able to get more quality leads, to be able to target those correctly and prioritize those to get those to the reps. Because they know if they can give them higher qualified, better targeted and prioritized leads, the reps are seeing the value and there's usually a greater return on the leads that get generated. The sales reps are ultimately saying, help me to actually focus on the deals with the highest probability of close. Meaning, help me to understand which of these deals can I spend the best amount of time on to get the maximum result in the shortest period of time, of course. And when you have your account managers, those people managing existing accounts. This comes back to how do we help them to have proactive visibility to account changes, like leadership changes, as an example, or such as they've opened a new office and now's a great time to upsell or cross-sell products and services. These are the challenges we hear consistently from our customers that we work with, as well as the customers that today are dealing with these challenges. So what are those 5 real ingredients to help jumpstart your sales given the environment that we're all in today? Ultimately, it starts with accurate data. The foundation of data is there and the importance of that data. But data is now found in multiple places. It's not just found on a list. It's found across multiple sources because of the fact of social and user-generated content. Give us business insights. For you to engage a customer today, you need to know what's happening at their company and at their competitors and the insights necessary to formulate a very well-thought-out conversation when you do engage with those right people, because they're looking for you to give them the right message, but it's also what is the right time that you should engage them. If you reach out when there's nothing to engage about, then you're going to fall into that bucket we talked about earlier of unsolicited email or phone call. Not only knowing who the company is and what's happening at their company, but knowing the individuals as a personal level as possible. Many organizations and leaders are active on social media today. So being able to see not only how they're in the news, what they're socially tweeting about, what their hobbies and interests are another way in which you can have a greater conversation and a more meaningful, insightful conversation. And lastly, leveraging your connections. Your connections are about understanding how your network of connections, you personally, as well as your organization, your team members, and who they're connected to in industry can be leveraged to get you engaged with those people at those accounts you're trying to target. The best example I can use is how many people have actually had a job where they've actually applied to a job on a website versus how many people have received a job that you're aware of because they knew someone who could give them a referral into that company. It's a very similar concept, and we believe it's a very insightful way and a way of improving getting response rates to those organizations. And we've seen proof of that through the statistics and through the studies that have been done. So let's talk about Inside View and what is it that we actually do that aligns to what I've just described. We are CRM intelligence, meaning that we are going to take that intelligence that's necessary, the data, the insight, the connections, and we're going to provide that directly into the dynamic CRM tool. We're a cloud-based solution that goes out in real time to over 30,000 sources of data using our proprietary software, and we're actually pulling in information from media, so the big media sites like the CNNs, the CNBCs, but also from the smaller publications. We're going out to social sites, Facebook, Twitter, blog sites. We're using a foundational set of financial institutions, not just one, but multiple. We use Equifax as an example, Reuters, CapIQ, Net Prospects, just to name a few. And we're going out and we're taking this information from these multiple places and we're triangulating that data because we want the most accurate and complete company and contact information that's available based upon triangulating it. And that's a fundamental difference in how data is managed as compared to the traditional data management organizations who will go out and provide you with a number and that's it. It's very one-sided and usually single-sourced. We feel that that's the better way to do it just simply because of the fact that there is so much information that's taking place in multiple areas. We're focusing on business to business because we recognize that having the contact information for the business is great, but when we can identify those key decision makers, that really drives the conversation. From an insights perspective, once we know we've got the right information, the right people and contacts and phone numbers and emails and the basic firmographic data, that's good and great, but as we know, research will tell us I'm not going to get a response if I cold call or cold email. So now we need to know what's happening at that company that's relevant. And in this case, we're going to go out and drive, bringing in alerts directly into the dynamic CRM account, or also delivering these in what we call watch lists directly into your inbox. So whenever there is a leadership change, as an example, or an acquisition, or there is an expanding operations announcement, not only will the user see it in the account record, but they can also receive an email with that notification. And once they know that there's been a business event that's taken place, driving in those connections to know that I actually can leverage not only my capabilities, but my colleagues. The way this works is, traditionally everyone thinks of LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is one source that we would look to. But we also recognize your Outlook contacts, your past work history, your reference accounts, your educational background, your Facebook connections. All of those are also relevant connections. And so we want to capture each one of those from each user of Inside View in your organization and allow all of you to share those connections whenever you're pulling up a company or a contact. And that way, while I might know someone, in this case, one of my colleagues does, and I'm going to see that with an Inside View, and it's going to tell me, you can reach out to your colleague because it looks like they're connected to these people, and you can ask them to give you a warm introduction. What does it mean to this customer life cycle? Ultimately, when we really think about Jumpstart in the life cycle, it's taking it from the top of the funnel, where there's traditional lead capturing methods that are happening from events, from campaigns that are driven. In the marketing's case, they want more marketing qualified leads. So if I'm doing, for example, a campaign and an individual comes to our site to look at a white paper, I'm going to ask them usually for some information before they can download the white paper. Email, phone number, industry, company name, a number of fields. Usually it's 8 to 10 on average. With Inside View, we can eliminate the number of fields in that example to only ask for the company and the email. And if we have those two, our system can go back and it can actually support the marketing team to find more leads, because what we're going to do is we're going to help to enrich that simple data to now add in all of the firmographic information, industry, SIC, number of employees, description of the company. And that's going to allow the marketing team then to take that anonymous visitor and prioritize how they score that lead and how they route that lead to sales, so that sales are getting the most relevant and important leads coming directly to them. From a sales perspective, when they receive these leads, they're going to be more confident in the marketing activities that are being done and what's being generated to them, and seeing synergies with marketing because they're getting more actionable leads with more information they can now use within their CRM tool to go in and do their analysis, identify the key business events and connections. And ultimately, it's going to drive to faster wins for the sales team. And in the account manager, it's about being alerted, like I mentioned earlier. If there's been an executive change or your sponsor's no longer at the organization, the quicker you know about it and can take action to it, you'll protect the account, you'll keep the competitors out, and you'll be able to drive engagement across the organization. And so ultimately, it helps them as they're trying to proactively manage all these accounts when they can get information coming to them from inside view that proactively tells them about those events, or when there's upsell and cross-sell opportunities. So that's what it is at a very high level. That's the approach that we think, those way in which we're addressing these challenges today and using technology to support where the business is headed today and those changes. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop, and I'm going to let Mike jump in now to go ahead and give you a brief demo and overview of the solution.
Great. Thanks, John. Certainly appreciate that. So I'm going to jump into the demonstration where we're going to see how you can take advantage of dynamic CRM very tightly integrated with Inside View. And I'm going to touch on really the 5 main points that John brought up in his part of the presentation. And that was around accurate data, business insights, right time, right message, knowing your targets, and then ultimately leveraging your connections. Okay. So with that, really one of the major benefits of Inside View is being able to go out and create this intelligence database and this intelligence network of all the information that it finds about companies and contacts. But it has the ability to then bring it within context of your CRM records. So you see, if I pull up an account record for this example, in my CRM application, it automatically shows me the organization that we have based on the record that I've opened. If I go in and let's just say I'm going to go and look for a different record, and we'll use one that probably most everybody knows, that being Microsoft, right? So if we go into Microsoft, we'll see that once I open up that particular record, then the Inside View information has changed to reflect the information particular to Microsoft. Okay? So what I really feel that an additional benefit is added is really around being able to collect this information and give it to you at your fingertips, if you will. You think about if I were preparing for a meeting with Microsoft or some people at Microsoft, you know, it's really important for me to know kind of the latest information that's available out there. So, you know, we've all heard in the news leadership changes, but, you know, have they been acquiring any businesses? Has there been any new partnerships? Do we know any other people there at that organization? And that's really what's being surfaced here in this view. So, you know, it kind of goes to that both business insight and right information at the right time. Okay. So if we just take a quick look, you can see that we see details about the organization. We can get, you know, a nice little description of it, make sure that it has their proper contact information. But we also have this idea of smart agents, and these are essentially search bots, if you will, based upon keywords that can go out and find information related to that organization or that individual and bring it back within context of your CRM record. So you can see in this case there's lots of information available out there. Not only can I just see that information, but I can also interact with that information. So if it were important to me and maybe I wanted to just fire off a quick email, hey, you know, I see this leadership change notification just came out. You know, maybe this will be a point of conversation when we meet next week. So you can email that individual, the marketing teams, or if you have your own social networks, you can post that information to your own information. You can also create related activities on your activity wall within the CRM application. If we kind of look over here to the right, we can also see that we have what's called connections, and we're going to come back to that in a second. But it really shows that we have relationships not only with the people at that organization, but relationships with people in our own organization. If we take a quick look at the People tab, one of the nice things here is it automatically pulls up the individuals that are found in all those different data sources that John mentioned that is used by the Inside View teams. We can even do a quick filter and say, you know what, I only want to see C-level information in individuals. If I wanted to, for example, find these individuals and I wanted to follow them, any company record or individual record that I follow, I can add that to my watch list, and that will give me either a daily or a weekly summary of information related to those individuals or those companies right inside my inbox. You know, this is really helping with what I call reducing navigating by favorites. So if you think, you know, if we now then go take a look at the Buzz tab, what this is doing is really kind of showing me the most recent information about that organization, either tweets or posts, blog posts. It's finding information over here on the right, and it's surfacing that information. You know, think about how many different sources I might have to go to if I wanted to see just those individuals that are associated with that company, or what are the subsidiaries of that organization, or what are their competitors. You know, it's always good to know who your customers' competitors are as well as who your customers' customers are. And so this really helps me get to that information much more quickly and much more efficiently than if I were to do this by my favorites, if you will. I also like this idea of this industry profile view. And what this shows is just a roll-up summary of what is their primary SIC code, what are their, or NAICS code, which is really a replacement of SIC, but people still use both. What are the industry challenges that that organization is experiencing? What kind of trends are they experiencing? It even helps me with some call prep and can kind of help guide me or prompt me with some types of questions that I might be able to use when I'm dealing with people at that organization. We can even see the overall size and structure and see not only the organization, but who do they buy products and services from? Who supplies them with other products and services? What kind of substitutes could be within that organization? So there's a lot of information here right within just this one view. Not only that, but I can also synchronize information. So in this case, this is part of that accurate data and that enriching data. So you can see here on the left-hand side are the fields that I have within my Dynamics CRM application, and these are the fields that I can synchronize that's coming from the Inside View data sources. So I could, for example, just go ahead and just check the individual ones that I want, or I could check them all, but if I go ahead and update the account, what that's going to do is I'm going to pull that information into my CRM record, and then it's going to update my CRM record with the most recent information that it's pulling from those sources. So you may not have seen it earlier, but I didn't have the primary phone number. I didn't have the relationship type. I didn't have the description. So it pulled all that information out of Inside View and pulled it right inside my Dynamics CRM application. You know, think about that from a data quality perspective. And now that I have that data enriched inside my CRM application, now my marketing teams can take advantage of that by building lists and targets to go after those. Or I as an individual can build additional targeting information based upon that. So I can build, say, like for example, a call list off of that. Now, not only that, but we can also go in and take advantage of that by this build a list capability. Okay, so let's just say that in a particular, let's just say Massachusetts area, I want to build a list of people and or companies that are in the chemical industry. So it's just going to look in Massachusetts for people that are in the chemical industry. I could fill in additional information, but I'm just going to go search for that. And now what you'll see is that's going to pull back a number of companies. I can go in and look at those companies and see the high-level details of them, but I can also follow them from here. I can see where those data sources are coming from and whether or not we have any connections. I can also see it at the people level. More importantly, I can do an export of the company or the people and then re-import those into my Dynamics CRM application. So much like I did at the single account level, we can take a whole list of that information and pull that into our CRM application. And then finally, the other area that we talked about was the connections, right? And that's leveraging who knows who, or who do you know, or who do the people in your organization know in your target account or in your target contacts. And so if we just go in and look at, for example, the people that I know, and then I'm going to just pull up a quick individual here, Brian. And so if I look at Brian's record, what I'm going to see is his details here, and I can update information from here, but we can also see who are those connections. So who has connections or relationships with Brian. So we can see that I have a personal relationship with him, but also these are individuals in my organization that also have a connection. And then I see what type of a connection it is. Or was it previous coworkers? Were they colleagues? Were they friends? What types of things? But not only that, I can take action right from within here and ask that individual for a referral. So maybe I didn't have a personal connection. It automatically kind of helps me fill in that information so that I can just send a quick email to further that conversation and hopefully establish a connection with an individual that I may not have originally. So really some powerful information, all available at my fingertips. I can even start that conversation. And so now that I've got the starting the conversation, this kind of filters it into kind of the highlights of what's important, that I can begin to have that conversation and build that personal relationship with that individual. So here's kind of some of the topics that I can bring about. And then even right from within here, we can go ahead and just email that individual or use the built-in capabilities to link or Skype and call that individual. So really some very powerful capabilities built right within the application, all at my fingertips without me having to go to multiple different sources and you know, take 15, 20, 30 minutes or more. I can now do that usually within 5 or 10 minutes. So really some high payback on the capabilities when you take advantage of this. So that's going to kind of stop for the demonstration, and then what we're going to do now is go ahead and we have a couple of minutes left to accept some questions. And so if you filled out the questions, we're going to take a quick look at those, and we're going to respond to a couple of those. And so let's see, one of the ones that we've got here is, and this is asked fairly often, do I need a paid subscription of Inside View for each seat of my CRM users? Maybe Paul, or I'm sorry, John, maybe you can take that one.
Yeah, so that's a very fair question, and I appreciate that. The answer is, simple answer is no, you do not. For the premium versions that we have for your sales and your account management teams, you can have those for a subset of your user licenses. We recognize not all of your CRM users, one, may need Inside View, and we also recognize that all your users may not be in sales or marketing functions.
Right. Here's another one, and I get this one a lot. I'll take this one. Can I update data that is provided to me from within Inside View? And this goes back to that idea of having accurate and up-to-date information. And the answer is yes, you can. The little caveat is you don't do that directly, but within each contact and account record, there's a little button that says, is this the right information? If it's not, or you feel that you need to, or you'd like to enhance or update information, you click on that little button. It'll give you a form. It's already pre-filled into the contact or account that you're on, and then you can fill in the details of what you feel is more accurate information. That then goes back to what I call the Inside View intelligence team, where they will actually validate that information, and then if that information is deemed to be more accurate than what they have in their system, they will update that. And you usually will see that oftentimes within a few hours, but at most you'll see it in a day or two. So you can help keep the data clean just by clicking the simple button. Next is, and this is probably a big one, and perhaps John, you can take this one. Will Inside View be integrated into Dynamics CRM 2013?
Yeah, another very good question. We're excited. We are a Microsoft Gold partner, and as part of being that type of partner, we have early access to Microsoft's products for the sole purpose of doing all the testing to ensure that the integration that we have with the product is seamless and continues just as it does today. So I'm very happy to tell you that, yes, we absolutely would have a product that will be integrated into the Dynamics CRM 2013 product.
Great. And John, we got one more question. Again, I'll let you answer this one. Does Inside View work with both CRM on-premise as well as CRM online?
Another outstanding question. The answer is yes. There is, for online, it's really a very simple process. We have installation guides right on our website. For on-premise, the only key there is that we would want to make sure that your on-premise is set up with what's called an internet-facing deployment, or IFD. And that would be simply because if we're going to sync any of our data, like the firmographic data on an account, from Inside View into your account record, you would have to allow us to do so, and an internet-facing deployment would be the way in which it's done so the firewall doesn't block that transfer of data from our cloud into your account record in that example.
Great. Thanks a lot. So with that, we're right up at our 30-minute view. So as next steps, we typically recommend, go out and try a 30-day free trial. As John mentioned, it is a very simple configuration. You will need to probably talk with your administrator, but literally it takes about 5 minutes to get the system up and running within your CRM application. Try it out. You get the full function capabilities free for 30 days, but there is also a free version that is available for any time. Another one, maybe if you're not able to do that right away or you want to do something a little bit sooner, there's a great little social selling white paper. Really well written, very short read, but gives you some really great tips on social selling and taking advantage of that. And then the other is obviously you can either contact Infinity Info Systems or Inside View, and we're more than happy to continue the conversation, give you a personalized, detailed demo, and help answer any additional questions. Also want to keep in mind that this has been recorded and will be posted, so if you want to share that with individuals that weren't able to attend, that'll be posted in the next day or two. John, thank you very much for helping out today. Again, thank you everyone for joining, and with that we're going to close the session.